Hey, we're back with part 2 and ready to continue on as we look into our top 30 favorite and in our opinion greatest PlayStation 1 games. If you've missed part 1, we'll link it up right now, so consider checking it out to see which games we've already featured and listed. So thanks again for all the support. Let's go get it. We're continuing this list with Wipeout 2097, or XL in North America and Japan, which glides through to our number 14 spot. Though it retains much from its predecessor, 2097 ups the combat element with the addition of health bars for each ship. I still remember playing this game with my cousins and taking each other out. Because see, once your health was depleted, the craft would get destroyed. Man, this game still stands the test of time, and the soundtrack for that time was pretty epic. Wipeout 2097 overall was just a great racing game. We're steady making progress with this list, and at the 13th spot we've got Final Fantasy VII. Now, it's no secret that this game is praised, but it is often also derided by some gamers who deem it overrated, stating that 7's gameplay wasn't as complex and the story wasn't as deep in comparison to other games within the genre they consider to be superior, like Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger. Yes, the visuals might be outdated now, but for the time, it was cutting edge. The game's effect on the genre cannot be argued. I love Final Fantasy VII and still reflect back on the hours and hours of gameplay I've sunk into this one. It's no surprise that many gamers liken Final Fantasy VII's impact on the gaming world with the original Star Wars impact on movies. Yep, this one is definitely one of the classics. And creeping in at our number 12, we've got the cult classic Silent Hill. Now, I loved this game growing up, and the story still remains firm in my mind. I still remember how badly I wanted Harry to survive and find his daughter. The game just had that effect on you. I mean, you really needed to survive the nightmare. It was scary, but also beautiful at the same time. Simply put, this was a classic, and no top PS1 games list is complete without this honorable mention. Now for the next game. Yep, no regrets, placing Crash Team Racing at our number 11. This fun kart racer always brings me back to my childhood years, playing this with my brother, friends and cousins via multiplayer. Everyone was going on about Mario Kart 64, but hey, no offense, this game in my opinion was way better. From the weapons to the controls to the 16 different tracks and great different characters and adventure mode. This game had everything. It was a blast to play and required some key methods and techniques to always stay that one step ahead of your competition. And flying in at our number 10 spot, we've got Spyro the Dragon. Now, this is one of my childhood favorite games. Spyro has a very special place in my heart. I've been playing this game ever since I was about 10 years old, and it set a strong gaming foundation to me personally. This game was groundbreaking in terms of large open world platforms. These huge and expansive worlds allowed you to freely roam as Spyro and complete fun, magical adventures and save your fellow dragons. Even to this day, this game still gives me a wonderful feeling of nostalgia and fun as I explore these giant, unexplored worlds full of whimsical charm. This one is for the records, and even though it's 2021, we still enjoy playing the original Spyro the Dragon. Shooting up the 9th spot, we've got Tomb Raider 2. Now, I must admit, I had a mild obsession with Lara Croft as a kid and loved Tomb Raider 2. This game's ending. Oh, and the 2001 movie. Look, Tomb Raider 2 was considered by many as the holy grail title developed by Core. Sequel took everything from the original and just made it better. It brought some great platforming and puzzle solving elements. The gameplay was also greatly improved, not to mention the different locations and added weaponry. Tomb Raider 2 was one of my favorite games growing up, and I'll never forget the day I first got it at a second-hand store back in SA. Just so many great memories right here. And skating over to the 8th spot, we had to include Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which is one of the most renowned games for a reason. For its time, it had amazing graphics, physics and gameplay. I played this game on a demo disc first at a friend's house, but man, I saved up and eventually got the full game and never looked back. Even playing it to this day, really aged well. By the way, the remake was also pretty solid, to be honest, and if not already, you guys better check it out. Yeah, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 for the PS1 definitely helped popularize skateboarding games and revolutionized it. This was a great and memorable game, and we're confident that any true PS1 gamer would fully back us up with this placement. Crashing down at our number 7, Crash Bandicoot Warp. Just knew what time it is. I love Crash Bandicoot growing up, and the first 2 games will always hold a special place in my heart. But in terms of improvements in almost every area, I would be remiss not to acknowledge the 3rd installment. Crash 3 expanded on the story and gameplay, bringing new variety into the levels. Crash had the moves and Dr. New Cortex brought the comedy. Simply put, this is still incredibly fun to play, even to this day. For number 6, we've got Vagrant Story, which is one of the best games on the PS1, and if you've played this title before, we know you definitely agree. The battle system was amazing and very strategic, the puzzles made you think pretty hard, and the crafting and equipment system was totally unique. The atmosphere was perfect, and the challenge of the game was very real. I still often find myself talking about this game even after all these years later. Vagrant Story had some great artwork, it was atmospheric, had a great storyline, just a genuine mystery as to why we never got to see a sequel. We've reached our top 5, and what better game to place in this spot than Legacy of Kain's Soul Reaver. Right from the opening scenes, I was blown away by the game's powerful story that revolves around Raziel, an extremely conflicted character who's been cheated and left to die by his comrades, mainly Kain. Long ago, Raziel was promoted by his vampire brethren, receiving wings as a reward for his accomplishments. Kain, his leader, grew jealous and ordered Raziel to be cast into the abyss after his wings had been mutilated. After a millennium or so, Raziel awakens as a wraith by the elder gods, become his soul reaver and kill Kain, thus restoring Northgoth. So begins one of the best video game storylines of all time. I was about 11 or so when I first played this game and loved it ever since. For the time, Soul Reaver had everything: fantastic visuals, the time-shifting mechanic, gameplay, and also the stellar voice acting. This game is an underrated classic, and we're happy to include this one in our top 5. Now down to number 4, and if you think about survival horror games, 2 game series generally comes to mind. Yes, Silent Hill, but also Resident Evil. Now Resident Evil 2 was a game I first stumbled upon in a video store back in SA. I rented it, played it for a few minutes and knew that I had to own it. This game built upon a solid foundation of the original, adding larger gameplay areas, more variety, new and better zombie enemies, great suspense, and a plot that, whilst very derivative of other horror titles, will certainly keep any fan of the genre engaged from the beginning to end. Resident Evil 2 is a PS1 classic and definitely one of the greatest. We're closing in on this countdown, and sitting in at our number 3, we've got Metal Gear Solid, which is one of the most well-directed video games I've ever played. Everything about this game is just so well made and pieced together, from the gameplay, music score to the story plot, which, if I had to briefly summarize, follows Solid Snake, a stealth agent on a mission to stop a nuclear weapon, Metal Gear, from destroying the Earth. Look, it goes much deeper than that, man, but it's just so much fun to play. My favorite boss battle had to be Psycho Mantis. This dude is awesome. Metal Gear Solid is one of the best games I've ever played, and I've beaten the game over a few times. And you know what? I just find myself wanting to help Snake save the world every single time. Indeed, a timeless classic. Okay, now for our second spot, and a game I've sunk countless hours into, and for good reason. We've got Tekken 3. Now this is a gem of a fighting game, and it's the first in the series which got all the pieces together and made an all-round polished gaming experience. Tekken 3 introduced some key gameplay elements that refreshed the genre, including the sidestep, which added another layer of gameplay and strategy. Each of the 23 characters had their own moveset, voice and ending. I absolutely love Tekken 3. Jin, Eddie, and Brian were my favorite characters. I also enjoy the beat-em-up minigame Tekken Force, and still remember the first time I unlocked Dr. B. This was a classic, and it's not hard to see why Tekken 3 is considered by many as one of the greatest games of all time. Now before we get into our number one, we wanted to acknowledge the following titles, which is in no order, and though they're not on this list, we still definitely enjoy playing these PS1 games amongst many others. So without any delay, here's some special mentions. And we've made it to our top PS1 pick, a title that definitely stood the test of time, but just being this bloody good, just had to be Castlevania's Symphony of the Night. Now, not only is Symphony of the Night, in our opinion, the best side-scrolling RPG ever, it also had one of the most epic soundtracks, which is still considered a classic among gaming scores. This game had secrets everywhere, a few different endings, and some rare items, which we still haven't found. Another great aspect of the game is the idea of leveling your character up to increase stats. This was also beautifully implemented and rewarded you with easier gameplay as you destroy enough enemies to find the most powerful cloaks and weapons. Castlevania Symphony of the Night had fantastic atmosphere, and the controls, well, they were perfect. We believe Symphony of the Night remains an unrivaled PS1 game, a classic. We excelled on almost every level to combine and create one of the most significant gaming experiences ever made. So now, if you have a PS1 collecting dust for some reason, then there's no reason to neglect it any further if you haven't played this one or any of these titles we've listed. And there you have it, guys. That's our top 30 favorite and, in our opinion, greatest PlayStation 1 games. But what did you guys think of this countdown? It's always difficult to come up and discuss these type of videos, especially when you know that the PlayStation 1 also produced a lot of great and iconic titles. No doubt that we did miss a couple, but let us know in the comments below what you guys thought. Very subjective, of course, but let us know. Thank you so much for all the support. If you did like this video, please consider hitting that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, and also the bell notification so that you are notified for when we are releasing any future videos. Thank you so much for all the support, and until next time, see ya.